Hello there, we're here back with another video today. Today we're going to be looking at a full kill of me Solak base tanking in a 4-man and just have me talk through it. So there is these kind of niche things to know about base tanking that you can pick up when getting into Solak. Let's start off in the very obvious place to look in our gear and inventory. Starting with gear, we come equipped with basically our best mage gear on. You definitely want to have blast diffusion boots and cinderbanes, as they really help your damage output. On top of that, the grimoire, which is in my pocket slot, does not degrade while you're at Solak, so it's essentially a free scrimshaw. So you don't have to worry about paying the 7 mil per hour that it costs to use. Its special effect is a plus 12% critical hit chance, and it increases your max hit to 15,000 above the 12,000 we had before. On top of that, we have Majorat Aura because we'll be using 2 styles. The Zerker auras aren't as good as having 5% on both styles. Now, moving into our inventory, we have a lot of switches in here. I have flanking for both melee and magic. I also have a top and leg swap for melee. I don't worry about having a helm, boot, or glove swap because it's very minimal damage, and as a tank I'm not zerking as much as the others. I'm really only zerking on the core and once on P3. Past that, we have our food, which is fairly standard, brews and sailfish. If you get good enough, you can switch to Guthix brews and green jellies, but I just like having the panic heal available to me. On top of that, the spiritual prayers here act as both a prayer potion and a summoning potion, so we can use up more scrolls from our Ripper demon in a kill without wasting more inventory spots. And I always forget to drink summoning potions when they're just sitting in my inventory, so this makes me passively use them. Then we have the Dominion Mines, which we're going to place down at the start of the kill to get 20k free damage. That 20k free damage is very nice because it makes it very easy for us to get our extended devotion. So in a 4-man, the roots have 45,000 HP, so 2 people will put it on the west and 2 people will put it on the east, meaning both of these have 5,000 left, so you can quickly just come down and kill them. But without further ado, let's start the kill. When the last person joins the instance, so right now we're just waiting for the 4th person, you put down your mines. So there we are, Lambo joined the instance, so we can now put down the mines. After our mines, we drink our weapon poison ++, activate our grimoire, use an extra defensive to stall, and then at this point, once you get into a rhythm, the rest of your team will kind of know when you're going to start. But I just kind of, because we're in a Discord call together, I just say starting, so they know that it's happening. Put on your Ring of Vigor and Ultimate. Next, you're going to want to A-pot and build up to Asphyxiate. Asphyxiate is going to be your first threshold because Solak goes into this special attack almost immediately. So this way you can get both your Asphyxiate and Wild Magic in your Sunshine. He's going to spawn 4 green circles now. If we look at the map here, I can see 3 of them. Our job is the southeastern quadrant, as Lambo has southwest, Denny has northwest, and Arceus have northeast. They don't always spawn near the players, but it's just makes it really easy to everyone knows which one they need to go to. So we see, I have my camera oriented that way, and we see the one in the southeast. We immediately do an ability and then surge over there and get to it. Unfortunately, there was none in the northeast quadrant, and there was 3 on the west side, so the 4th member couldn't get over to that pad. And because one person missed one of these green circles, we're going to take about a 5k hit here. So there's the 5k hit. It's not too big of a deal because we have a bunch of defensives, but taking this damage will mean we will have to eat at the start of the kill. It also applies 5 blight stacks here, and these blight stacks end up giving you a 1% damage taken increase. Doesn't affect the amount of damage you output, so you want to keep these stacks as low as possible. So we run back to our Sunshine in the middle now. This is for two reasons. One, so we can do more damage, and two, so that Solak is oriented so everyone else has their sunshine. When he says the roots of the tree are one with us, what we need to do is activate Spellbook Swap and Disruption Shield, and then put on our Wand and Shield and activate Resonance. The reason why we do both of these is he's going to hit us with a melee hit, and then one tick later hit us with the big 8k hit, which we need to res. And if you end up trying to time it with just res, it becomes pretty difficult, and I died a lot when I was learning, but Disruption Shield will basically stop your res from getting popped from the melee hit. So I activate Disruption Shield. So you can see there'll be a melee hit that'll hit a 1, and then I put my Wand and Shield on and res it, and it'll hit me a 0 one tick later. For the DPS, they don't need to worry about it because the range hit hits after the 8k hit, because it takes a while to travel from me to them. But for us, it's not ideal. So at this point, you're going to finish out your sunshine rotation. Brew up as needed. You shouldn't need any food if you got to all the green pads. And as the sunshine's done, run south and activate Devotion. Now, the reason why we mine and activate Devotion now is we can quickly kill 2 of these rootlings to get a 20-second Devotion. So that's 5 more seconds, and then I'll just drop a bleed on here and 5 more. Now, once you're done your 2 roots at the bottom in a 4-man, you're going to want to go to this southeastern route and mine it. I actually make a mistake here, and I mine an extra square away, so I didn't get the 20,000 damage on the root. But we kill them quick enough that it's not the end of the world, but something to pay attention to. So yeah, if I was 1 square closer here, it would have led to us a 20k damage on this, and this rootling would have died quicker. The only thing to note is mines can't kill the rootlings. So while waiting for it to like charge up and click, you'd want to keep the rootling above 20k and then use something like Wild Magic or Asphyxiate once the root is done. But I noticed that they're too far away, so I just dump my thresholds right away into it. And get a cheeky little res here when your Devotion is up. And so at 106 seconds, Solak is going to do his next special, which is the roots below Bend to My Will. And what that will do is 2 people will get roots coming out of them. There'll be an arrow on the map. So for example, if I had roots, I don't have it in this kill, but if I had roots and the arrow was right here, there would be roots coming out of here, here, and here directed at me, and anyone caught in between gets kind of screwed. So you can see Arceus here is moving away, so that definitely means he has the roots. So we'll see where he goes next. Yeah, so he's going north, so that means his roots are north, and you'll see him, because no one else is north, he'll start to walk back towards us. And avoid the damage. You can see this was the other one, so his arrow would have been right here, where it came out of there, there, and there, and he was standing right there when his timer hit 0, but he was moving towards the middle, so he didn't take any damage. You want to definitely anticipate during this moment, because if you get caught in one of these stuns, by the time you freed him, you're already dead. Now you bring Solak back to the middle and just do another sunshine rotation. You won't have adrenaline pot here, so just use Limitless if you're smart enough to remember, which I don't think I used this kill because I wasn't. And then just do your DPS, and your res will come off cooldown at a point. Just keep your HP relatively low for Darok's Relic, and you can brew as needed. He only really hits like 1.5k at most during this phase, not really that hard. I should have rezzed here, but I went straight into Devotion, which will be back up for the second part of this, because you can see his attack speed has sped up considerably, so that's where we want to use our Devotion so we don't take as much damage. And then once the second bomb is about halfway filled, he's going to go to the middle. Now, this next part of the fight, we have to kill his arms and legs. This is a DPS check. The blue bar is the time, but it's a relatively easy DPS check for pretty much every group size. In duos, it can get a little tough if you don't 4-tick auto attack, but it's not too difficult. So when the arms die, you can now attack the legs. You can build into a detonate here, as it'll charge up really quick with your blast diffusion boots, and it'll hit both targets for a lot of damage. And then you just want to basic down the rest of the legs and start switching over to your melee, because we are going to be zerking on the core here. We're going for a 1 cycle. We probably won't get it, but it's a very big speed increase if we get it. So you want to barge the core. I accidentally barged Solak there, so use target cycling, and then get your assault, bleed, flurry, both your flanks, and then into a destroy. So unfortunately we didn't get a 1 cycle core, so we need to repeat everything that we just did again. The only caveat to that is if you get to the HP cap in P1, his next special will go right down to arms and legs. In a 4-man, the HP cap is 3750, so we have about 30 seconds here to deal that 50k damage, so it should be absolutely no problem. But if you have to deal, if we were over 4 mil at this point, we'd probably be getting those green circles again. So that's why the DPS is important in phase 1, as phase 1 is the deadliest phase in the kill. So you want to make sure you only have to do everything once at most. So it's the same thing as before, where you kill the arms and legs. The only difference here is that you can just sunshine pretty much right away here, because you only have to deal about 50k to 100k damage onto the core, so you don't need to worry about having your ultimate up all the way. Then the core will spawn, you'll be able to finish it off, and that's going to lead us into the second phase. Now this is the part of the fight where it will differ between your team size. If you have 4 or more people, the base tank will go to the northwest corner here, but if you have trio or duo kill, the base tank will go south to help cleanse. So as this is a 4-man kill, this will be what you do if it's 4 or higher. So you're going to go up to this northwest corner, stand north of it, so that way you can flank, as again it spawns facing south, so you can get a nice little deep impact and impact in, and then go into your regular thresholds. Depending on team size, this will take a differing amount of time to kill, but I usually devotion around 10k HP, so that way I can get the devotion extended. Unfortunately, I don't get it this time because my familiar ended up finishing it off, so it didn't count as me killing it. But then you move over to this other eruption and start attacking it. Your team members will be in the south, finishing off the eruption that comes slamming down. Let's just go back a couple seconds here. So these eruptions are feeding into the middle, and then eventually it'll drop a bomb, and that bomb will hit everyone in the arena for about 2k and add a stack. If we look, drops down right about now. So that hit everyone in the arena for about 2,000 damage. So just keep your HP a little bit higher. If you have devotion up, you can resonance this, but apart from that, you won't be able to really block it except for with reflect and debilitate. This is like the foodiest part of the fight, so I just end up using most of my food here to get these eruptions down as quickly as possible. So when your team is done up there, there'll be a message in the chat box, which is the last of the Blightstorm burst out, and the storm disappears. That means you'll no longer get these AoE attacks to everyone in the arena, and you're okay to finish off this pillar. Go ahead and do that and move to the north. In larger teams like 5, 6, and 7-man, by the time you get over here, they will also be there, so you'll have to, like, as a team, finish off that eruption and no one goes up, and then you come into this area. So you want to go in between these 2 torches, because the torches are a pseudo safe spot, as bombs can't spawn on the last 2 rows here. So you only need to worry about bombs in 1 row hitting us, and we can get around most of that by moving between the torches. But if you do want to get some flanking damage, you can go ahead and, as a DPS, be on the other side of Solak. So he'll rip the earth open, spill the blood of life, and that's the bomb spawning around the arena. These things hit from 700 to 7,000, starting out really low and building up really high. As a base tank here, you want to use Resonance and Devotion as much as possible, and also activate your Excalibur, as that will help with your damage mitigation. Apart from that, use your regular sort of Sunshine rotation. And when the bombs are done, this gold circle will spawn, and you need to click it to get a Nature's Blessing, which you can then use to block a lot of damage from Solak. A good metric for a 4-man at this point is being under 3 million HP, as that means you'll be able to pretty much either skip or get close to skipping the second rain. And let's get into the first rain. So he's going to say his words, and when he says rain is when you want to activate the Nature's Blessing, so that way it clearly blocks all 5 attacks, and it also comes up early enough that people know you didn't mess up. So after I click that, I end up debilitating and reflecting, so that way to maintain damage. And you can realistically res any one of these bombs. Generally, most people will res the 3rd or 4th one, so that way they can go back inside the shield, tank the 4th and 5th one, and be at half HP for Darok's Relic at the next part of the fight. But I'm going to think I res the 4th one here. Yeah, so I res the 4th one here and then run back in for the 5th one. Now, you all want to run out of the north wall now into the middle and anticipate, as the next special will stun you if you don't. You'll pick a random player to drag under him and then try to crush. So once you get under where his arm is, you're either going to want a Sunshine or Threshold, depending on the damage that needs to be done. This kill, it was too low, and I should not have Sunshined. I should have just Thresholded it, because the 3 of their Zerks would have been enough to lower it, and then I could have Sunshined at the start of the 3rd phase instead of abandoning my Sunshine after 15 seconds. So what he's going to do is, while you're climbing up, he's going to try to smash you. Basically like throw you into the ground really hard, which is about an 8k melee hit. So what we do to avoid that big hit is we activate Disruption Shield, and that will allow us to tank the hit. You do that by activating Spellbook Swap and Disruption Shield. So I have mine keybound to P and O, which makes it very easy for me to click it in one fell swoop. So once we Disruption Shield, we can just keep damaging and dumping our thresholds into Solak. Now here, the phase is technically over at this point because his blight bar is at 0, and that signifies the start of phase 3. But because we're kind of stuck in this animation, we still have a lot of time to actually damage him. So if you're a DPS or a tank, just don't get off at this point because the bar is done, and go south for the next phase. Keep attacking it till you get the message that the phase is done, which is right here. Solak's mind is being controlled by Erythor, increasing his enrage. Now what you're going to do, this is dependent on the team. Some teams will stay north and keep their stacks really high and just end up doing the kill from there. But we'll be doing it from the south, as it's safer and ends up better kills for us. So this green circle will clean out all your stacks, or 32 stacks, which means 32% more damage will go away. But you can do a cheeky little resonance here, because he's going to hit you with 1 auto before it clears, so you can get a really big resonance based off that 32%. I didn't do it that time, but it can usually be about a 4,000 resonance. But here you're just going to want to threshold and build up. How phase 3 works is that there's 8 of these pads around here. If you or Solak is standing on this pad, it will start to charge up, as signified by this white ring around it. And when it's fully charged up, it does multiple things. 1, Solak's going to spaz out. 2, he's not going to attack us. 3, it drops one of these blight bombs right on top of you. And 4, it allows the DPS, or you if you were the tank, to go into the realm to kill Erythor, which is the 350,000 HP, and how you get into phase 4. So you want to kind of always be charging, as it leads to more downtime to be able to soul split, not only for yourself but for the DPS, and less specials. So what I do is I take one step right and then surge over here. Normally I would sunshine right away here, but because I accidentally sunshined on the previous phase, I can't do that yet. You could also soul split here, but I'm not doing it. And then as he's standing up, you want to anticipate. This is because his next attack is going to be a stun, and your anticipate will hold over that entire period. So you're going to anticipate and then stand right on top of the middle circle here. So he does 2 autos, and then after his second auto, he's going to do his stun special. So you need to stun him basically based on the number of people in the kill. Right now there's 4 people here, so you take that number and minus it by 2. So we need to get 2 stuns before we stop taking damage. If they're in the mind realm or die, that'll then go down to 1 stun. If we had a 7-man team, you would need 5 stuns. So it gets pretty hectic with the larger teams, but for these 3, 4, 5-man teams, it's not too bad to have a stun because the base tank will always be one of them. So you want to anticipate and then go into asphyxiate or one of your other stuns. And then as the bar fills up here, you're going to need to surge away again to not take the damage. You can then go just south of Solak here, and you should be able to get your flanking from this square while still being in your sunshine. When his spazzes are over, surge forward and run into the next pad. You can generally resonance once per cycle. So if you resonance at the start of each cycle and then into a devotion, it works pretty well. So I'm just threshing here because I'm going to Zerk on the third one here to help us do some damage on phase 3. Most base tanks will just go ahead with just sunshining, but you can get a nice little Zerk in here. So I like to do that. So just do my normal Zerk rotation. At this point, pay attention to the HP here. We need to get down to 600k, and what we're going to try to do is do it so that by the time this pad is charged, we end up getting right to 600k. So we do that pretty well here. Get to the pad, put back on your mage gear, and make sure you stun. You don't take damage. And we're at 750 now. We need to do a little more damage, but they need to do 120,000 damage inside, so that gives us enough time to get below the HP cap. The HP cap for phase 3 is always going to be the amount of people in the kill plus 100k. So because we are 4-man, that makes this a 500k limit that we need to get to. So while the 2 people inside are going to have to do 120k damage, we need to do 100k damage outside. So we go ahead, dump our thresholds, and do as much damage as possible. At this point, it might as well charge the next pad, even though they're probably going to kill it. Just in case they don't, we can start working on the next one. But yeah, just kind of sit on it, and now they killed it, and we're under our 500k. So what you want to do at the start of this phase is have your wand and shield on, your ring of vigor on, switch to mage protect and fortitude, and brew all the way up as much as you can. So you're going to natural instinct as soon as you can. Build up with adrenaline. If you use defensives here instead of offensive basics, you can auto attack every 4 ticks to get extra adrenaline. So try to spam your defensives like anticipate, freedom, and preparation to help you build adrenaline. And then when you're about 90% adrenaline, basically one ability away from 100, you want to go inside to the mind by clicking on the active button. Now, once you're inside the mind, you want to tag the manifestations onto you so they're not attacking Solak. Your goal is to keep Solak alive long enough so that the DPS can bring the HP down to 0, which frees Solak from Erethdor's mind. So what we do is we go in and we just tag all of them, and then you want to Immortality as your first big defensive ability, as that's going to not only reduce damage you take by 5%, it's also going to help you maintain your HP. Because when you die with Immortality being up, you end up respawning at about 5,000 HP, which you can then go right into a barricade. So you just go around, tag all of them. As soon as you get to 50%, you want to reflect, as that will reduce damage that you take. Just go ahead and tag all of them. Keep it going. And once your HP gets really low, just pay attention to your Immortality Timer, because if that gets down to 0, when your HP gets down to 0, you won't be revived. So here, see there, we just got revived by Immortality, and the very next ability that we're going to do is Barricade, because if you don't, you are probably going to die. Well, and if you're not 100% adrenaline, use Devotion, and then as Devotion ends, use Barricade. What we do is we Barricade and then keep tagging all of them. There is a bit of a glitch here where the manifestations can sometimes go on your familiar, and they can absolutely just rinse your familiar in a couple ticks. So if you do that and you have time to just spam call your familiar, and it should survive. But keep tagging, and then when they get Solak down to 0 HP, you teleport out, and that is the kill. It makes it really easy on you if you have the Malatops perk, as it gives you a 19-second Cade. And also another thing you can do is, if it happens to be, let's say there was only one person outside, or there was 2 people outside, and I needed to survive a lot longer, when the barricade is up, you're going to want to go into Devotion after that. And then you can actually kill one of the manifestations to extend your Devotion, and tell your team that, because they'll be out here damaging the boss, and the manifestation will spawn out here and start attacking them. But that means you survive longer in the mind. Usually you should be able to survive at least 60 seconds every single time, and then if you get really lucky, or you get good enhanced devotions and blood barrages, you can get up to like 85 to 90 seconds. Another thing to mention is that while you're in here, you have this withering effect on your buff bar, which means you can't eat any food. So if I were to even try to rock brew at this point, it would just heal me 0 and waste me money. It's pretty straightforward once you've done it a couple times, and you can slowly add DPS moments to your base tanking. Like, for example, when I first started out, I was only bringing mage and had my inventory mostly filled with food, and then I slowly added my flanking switch for mage, then I added a full melee swap, then I added the flanking swap for melee, then I added the dragon battle axe, then I added another rune pouch to be able to cast Venge. So as you get better and better and just more seasoned, you can start to bring all these elaborate switches and other gear as your food gets crunched down and down. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it turned out really well. This is a tough boss, and I think this works better than just a boilerplate guide, because you can understand the mechanics by reading a guide and reading the wiki page, or watching a video of the mechanics, but it's very tough to understand why I make these decisions that I made, and what I did wrong and what I didn't do wrong. So I think these type of walkthroughs are very helpful. I know I liked them when I've seen them be done by other people, so I hope it helped. Anyways, have a good day.